Hello everyone, welcome back to the another session in Principles of Programming Languages. Before of this video, we were already discussed about data types, primitive data types and character data type. Today, we'll be going to talk about string data types. So concerned to the major programming languages, our talk is going to be what is a string and in which programming languages string data type is a primitive one, what kind of operations we basically do in strings, and how that will get initiated in the programming languages. This part we'll discuss. Now, coming to the strings. So string is what? It's a collection of characters, and basically the data types of character and string are not primitive in concern to major programming languages. String is primitive to some languages and it is not primitive to some other languages. That some are I have specified here that not primitive in the sense when the moment you wanted to initialize a string in such programming languages where it is not being used as a primitive one, then you can take that string in character arrays. The programming languages are what? C and C++. Basically C based languages. When I say about C based languages, you please include C++ in the picture. So in C and C++, string is not a primitive data type. When something is not primitive, you have to define that data type in other terms. Here the other terms are what? We'll use character arrays. And we'll use library functions which provide certain operations on strings. And the other programming language, Snowball, and in this Snowball, string is a primitive data type. So when I say it is primitive, we did not use any other form to define a data type. So in C and C++, string is defined as a character array. And in Snowball, we will not use any other kind of character or something else. We will define the string with the name of string. And coming to Snowball especially, Snowball is a specific string oriented language, and that's the very reason though you did not give string data type, default data type is string. Though you did not give any data type. Let's say that if I give here username, I did not specify any data type before of this. So Snowball compiler will take this as string. So here you can give the name of the string whatever you wanted to give. Now coming to the other things, Fortran and Python, primitive type with assignment and several operations. Even you know about Python that string is a default data type or else it is a primitive data type. And we even have Perl, JavaScript, Ruby and PHP where string is a primitive data type. When you go through with all the programming languages, you can easily differentiate the languages which support string as a primitive and non-primitive. So it is non-primitive in the case of C-based languages. It is primitive in the case of Python and Snowball, Perl, JavaScript, Ruby. All these languages will take string as a primitive one. Now, let's see about this length of this string, how I can specify a length of this string. Now, few of this part we covered in character data type, because when I wanted to initialize a character, I have to tell that the string length. Perfect? Now, let's see that if I wanted to give fixed size, then I can say it is a static one, and that is being supported in the programming languages which are COBOL and Java string class. We'll use a static one. And basically C and C++ we will use character array with the limited dynamic length. When you specify 10 characters to store or when you give n size, then you can take limited characters into this. So this is what is called as static and this is what is called as dynamic. So basically C based languages allow string to define in the program with limited dynamic length. And Snowball, Perl, JavaScript will take dynamic and without any length specification. So that you can see in this previous example. Now, so I'll show some example to understand how this can be without length. If you see in this picture, so in this source code which is written in Snowball, I did not specify any length over here. That's what it is, no maximum. No maximum to define a string. So this is what your username. I did not specify what kind of data type it is. Snowball default data type is string. So it can be taken as string. That's what I have given here. Thank you. Username. Username is what? Whatever you give here. So this is about the how string works basically in the programming languages with the different sizes. Now coming to string operations, as you know from the previous languages, that string can be operated for many kind of operations. And here one point is very clear. The languages which take string as a primitive will use library functions to operate. The languages which will take string as non-primitive, that languages will operate string operations using library functions. Because it is not a default data type in some languages, let's say C-based. C-based languages will perform all kind of operations on strings using library functions. Let's talk about what kind of operations basically we'll prefer on strings. Those operations are assignment operation, concatenation, substring reference, comparison and pattern matching. Coming to even the operations, these operations are not generic operations which can take place on many languages. Again, this differentiation will come respective to languages. Few languages will take pattern matching and few will not take. So that's also we'll cover here. So basically a substring reference is what? It is a reference to a substring of a given string. Substring references are discussed in more general context of arrays, where the substring references are called slices. So we have the other slide also to talk about slice. Slice is not a different data type. Slice is what? It is a part of the string. So if you give something like hello, how are you? So this is what your complete string. Now if I take few characters from this string, that is called as substring. So now that substring reference can be given with this slice. That we'll see how slices can be used to refer the substring, that we'll see in the next data type. Now coming to pattern matching. Pattern matching is another fundamental character string operation. In some languages, pattern matching is supported directly in the language. In others, it is provided by function or class library. So pattern matching is also, we'll give some pattern wherever this regular expression is matches with your contacts or with your database, with your dictionaries, and that complete data you can visualize. So that is what the basic meaning of pattern matching, and it is of real-time application where you can use in basically. And coming to the C and C++, I have given some examples so that you can find here where the languages which sort of operations it being performs. Now, if strings are not defined as a primitive type, string operations are, I'll select pen here. Now, so if strings are not defined as a primitive type, string data is usually stored in arrays of single characters. This point we covered in the just before slide, and referenced as such in the language. This is the approach taken by C and C++. So C-based languages will not take string as a primitive type, and C and C++ uses character arrays to store character strings. The basic operations, when you take a string in C and C++, that string will get ended with a null character, so which is represented with /0. And we'll see the other example. Now let's see here some of the most commonly used library functions. So I'll write some library functions what we basically use in C-based languages, which is about string concatenation, strcat, and we'll use here destination string, source string. Let's assume that you wanted to define char s1 of 10 is equal to some apple, and char str of 2 of 10 is equal to some ball. Now, so when you wanted to perform concatenation operation, so we'll use these kind of syntax, whereas string concatenation destination is what? S2 comma S1. You can write any of the way, but it is very a special thing that in spite of copying the string from one to the other, because when you wanted to perform a copy operation, result will be stored here in this place, because we wrote in the syntax it is a destination part. So basically the most common operations are what? String concatenation and string copy, strcpy, and strcmp, string comparison, strlen, string length. So these are what? The basic operations which we will perform through library functions in C based languages. So when I say it is library functions, you have to understand that the data type is not primitive. Now let's see the other thing, C++ and Java. So because of the insecurities of C string library, so there are some drawbacks what we have to even discuss about C based languages, especially with the C. C is having a drawback while you are copying one string to other string. Let's see that if string 2 is having 30, if string 1 is having 50 characters. So basically copy of 50 strings cannot be done in 30 strings, correct? So it is an insecurity or it is a drawback of C based languages, and that's what we are going for the other kind of languages where those languages will support string as a primitive one. They'll use classes to do all these kind of operations. So let's suppose that in Java we'll use string buffer clause to perform all kind of string operations. And not only in Java, there are other programming languages including Python. Python will take also string as a primitive data type. It also uses substring references and whatsoever operations I have discussed it. Even ML and F#, Perl, JavaScript, Ruby, PHP also take all kind of operations whatever I have specified earlier. The next programming language, which is Python. So Python is a language which takes string as a primitive data type. As I have specified over here, Python includes strings as a primitive type and has operations for substring reference, concatenation, indexing to access individual characters, as well as methods for searching and replacement. This point will ensure you that what kind of operations are possible using Python programming language. And not only that, if you see there is also an operation for character membership in a string. So even though Python string are primitive types, for characters and substring references, they act very much like arrays of characters. So though we'll use array of character over here, but it is accepted as a primitive data type. And you see about the other programming language, which is about F# and ML. In this programming language, you will find a minute difference to perform the operations on strings. That the point is, strings can be concatenated in F# using the plus operator. So the plus operator generally will not use in other programming languages, where you will use in F#. Let's see here, in F#, we'll use concatenation of strings with the operator which is plus. And in ML, we'll use cap symbol to perform the operation. So that I'll show you. And now let's look at the strings can be concatenated with the plus operator. In which language? In F#. These are two languages where you will find the differences. In F# we'll use plus operator. In ML we'll use cap operator for string concatenation. For remaining all, we'll use library functions to operate the string operations. That's it. It is about string types. Thank you all.